Welcome to the studio at That Nerd Show. I'm Marcus Blake, and this is your daily nerd news for Thursday, March 5th, 2020. Our top stories of the day take us to the world of film. The 25th Bond film has been scheduled to hit theaters around the globe in April, but it will now go out in November. It has been delayed until November of 2020. Here is our full story. The release of the upcoming James Bond film, No Time to Die, has been pushed back from April to November, becoming the first Hollywood tentpole to shift its global rollout because of the coronavirus outbreak. The 25th installment in the storied spy franchise will commence its run November 12th in the UK and November 25th in the US. Directed by Cary Joji Fukunaga and the final outing of Daniel Craig as 007, MGM and Eon's No Time to Die had been set to begin rolling out internationally in early April following a March 31st world premiere in London. It was scheduled to open in North America on April 10th, but MGM is releasing the title in North America via United Artists Releasing, while Universal has international duties. Relocating a tentpole and restarting a marketing campaign that was in full swing is a Herculean task, but insiders say hundreds of millions of dollars hung in the balance because of the ongoing cinema blackout in China and a downturn in movie-going in markets where the coronavirus is a major issue, including South Korea, Italy, and Japan. There's also concern that by early April, other markets could be impacted. Here is a statement from MGM, Universal, and Bond producers Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli announced today that after careful consideration and thorough evaluation of the global theatrical marketplace, the release of No Time to Die will be postponed until November 2020. This was a statement read by all three parties. Also on yesterday, Universal moved its Troll World Tour release up 1 week to the vacated U.S. date for No Time to Die. The Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake sequel to the 2016's Trolls is now set to bow on April 10th. In its new date, No Time to Die has the advantage of going out over the lucrative Thanksgiving holidays in North America. Many previous Bond movies also opened in November. It's also worth noting that this Bond film was scheduled to go out in November of 2019, but was pushed back to April of 2020 due to filming and injuries that delayed the production. The other major Thanksgiving 2020 tentpole is Godzilla vs. Kong, which is set to debut domestically on November 20th. And of course, alongside Craig, No Time to Die will also star the returnees of Lee Sedol, Ben Whishaw, Naomi Harris, Ray Fiennes, and Christopher Waltz, alongside with franchise newcomers Rami Malek, Ana de Armas, and Lashana Lynch. As the coronavirus first began to spread, publicity tours for the movie in China, South Korea, and Japan were canceled, and No Time to Die's release in Hong Kong was pushed back to April 30th. Earlier this week, MGM, Universal, and Eon received an open letter from the biggest Bond fan blog, MI16 headquarters, calling on the companies to delay the film's launch and put public health above marketing release schedules. So there you have it. If you were looking forward to the next James Bond movie in just under a month, well, it will be pushed back to November because of the coronavirus outbreak. Any more news on this, we will definitely let you know. In other movie news, Lily Collins and Simon Pegg thriller Inheritance was acquired by Vertical and DirecTV ahead of its Tribeca premiere. That is the Tribeca Film Festival. Vertical Entertainment and DirecTV had acquired the North American rights to this film, the thriller starring Lily Collins and Simon Pegg. The news came ahead of the film's premiere of next month's Tribeca Film Festival. Under terms of the deal, the Von Stein directed film will bow on DirecTV in April, a month before its May 22nd theatrical release via Vertical. The plot, scripted by Matthew Kennedy, involves around a patriarch of a wealthy and powerful family who suddenly passes away, leaving his wife and daughter with a shocking secret. Inheritance that threatens to unravel and destroy their lives. Connie Nielsen, Chase Crawford, and Marky Richardson will also star in this film. Ingenious Media, Southpaw Entertainment, Highland Film Group, and White Comet Films produced this movie. Richard Barton Lewis, David M. Wolf, and Ariana Fraser. Produced with Richard Goldberg, Peter Jarway, Santiash Govanjaru, Gabrielle Gero-Tabak, and Joseph Lannis, Daniel Negrete, Delphine Pierre, Dan Reardon, and Simon Williams are also executive producers. In a statement, Inheritance is called a sudden thriller that serves excellent twists and turns along the way. This was by Vertical co-president Goldberg, and this is what he also had to say. We couldn't be more thrilled in partnering with the DirecTV and filmmaking team to share this film with audiences everywhere. So look for the next Simon Pegg film to be coming out May 22nd in theaters, but it will premiere on DirecTV in April, almost a full month, about a full month before its theatrical release. In TV news, and also a little bit about gaming, there is a Last of Us series in the works at HBO from the Chernobyl creators Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann. So it had been previously announced that that a TV series over the acclaimed video game series The Last of Us was in the works, but we have a little bit more news about that. The creator of the acclaimed limited series Chernobyl is reteaming with HBO to adapt The Last of Us, the massive Sony PlayStation video game franchise. In a rare development in the world of video game adaptations, the writer and creative director of the game, Neil Druckmann, is also involved and will work with Mazin to pen and executive produce what is intended to be a series. At first, it was reported that it might be a movie, but now it is turning into a series. Carolyn Strauss will also executive produce, along with Evelyn Wells, the president of Naughty Dog, the same company that has also created the iconic PlayStation series Uncharted. Anyway, this is the Santa Monica-based developer of the game. The project is a co-production with Sony Pictures Television in associations with PlayStation Productions. It will be the first television series from PlayStation Productions. The first game launched in 2013 and garnered critical praise for its engrossing tale of the post-apocalypse, centering on the relationship between Joel, a smuggler in the New World, and Ellie, a teenager who may be the key to the cure for the deadly pandemic. Joel is a hardened survivor. He's hired to smuggle the 14-year-old girl out of an oppressive quarantine zone. What starts as a small job soon becomes a brutal, heartbreaking journey as they both must traverse across the U.S. and depend on each other for survival. The HBO series will cover the events of the original game, which was written by Druckmann, with the possibility of additional content based on the forthcoming game sequel, The Last of Us Part 2, which will be released on May 29th, 2020. Mazin, who is said to be an avid player of the game, stated Neil Druckmann is without question the finest storyteller working in the video game medium, and The Last of Us is his magnum opus. Getting a chance to adapt this breathtaking work of art has been a dream of mine for years, and I'm honored to do it in partnership with Neil. This was also a statement from Druckmann. From the first time I sat down to talk with Craig, I was equally blown away by his approach to narrative and his love and deep understanding of The Last of Us. With Chernobyl, Craig and HBO created a tense, harrowing, emotional masterpiece. I could think of better partners to bring the story of The Last of Us to life as a television. I couldn't think of better partners. The Last of Us won numerous Game of the Year awards and went on to sell more than 17 million copies across its original release on the PlayStation 3 and a remastered version on PlayStation 4. This is an incredible, exciting opportunity for us to partner with Craig Neil. This was a statement from Naughty Dog. This is the first of many shows we intend to develop with our friends at PlayStation Productions, said Chris Parnell, co-president of Sony Pictures Television Studios. The Last of Us is a brilliant achievement in storytelling and character development, and we are lucky to have the opportunity to work with the team to adapt it. Druckmann is a longtime vet of Naughty Dog, of course, starring as a programming intern in 2004. In 2007, he was given the role of game designer on the Uncharted Drake's Fortune, the first installment in the action-adventure series Uncharted. And in 2013, he created The Last of Us based on the concept he developed as a student at Carnegie Mellon University. Pardon the interruption while you watch this fantastic video by That Nerd Show. But we wanted to remind you that when you're done, go to mynerdswag.com and check out all the cool swag that we sell to help support this great news outlet. Yeah, if you like funny gaming or pop culture retro t-shirts, we have them. If you want a fantastic nerd bracelet, show your love as a nerd, we have that. We are also the home of the Baby Yoda t-shirt. That's right, we got a Baby Yoda t-shirt that you can buy and help support That Nerd Show. So when you're done, go to mynerdswag.com, check it out, help support the show, and keep the lights on. Every purchase helps. In other TV news, looks like we have a new project by Taika Waititi. He will be tackling Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for Netflix. Taika Waititi has found his golden ticket. Mere weeks after winning an Oscar for penning Jojo Rabbit, Waititi is jumping into the world of Roald Dahl for Netflix, closing a deal to write, direct, and executive produce 2 original animated series based on the celebrated author's works. The streaming company announced this today. The first series will be based on the world and characters of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, while the second is described as a wholly original take on the Oompa Loompas, the small, song-loving humans who worked in Willy Wonka's infamous factory. According to Netflix, the shows will retain the quintessential spirit and tone of the original story while building out the world and characters far beyond the pages of the Dahl book for the very first time. The book has been adapted into movies, games, and musicals, perhaps most famously as the Gene Wilder starring cult classic Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Tim Burton and Johnny Depp teamed up for a translation in 2005, while a recent West End stage production broke sales records. Netflix made a deal with Dahl's estate in 2018. The Waititi Pact marks the first steps in developing the works with Netflix is publishing as an animated event series. The company is seeking high-profile names to adapt stories such as Matilda, the BFG, and the Twits, among others. Said Netflix VP Original Animation Melissa Cava grew up reading Dahl stories and lived large parts of my young life in those magical worlds, so finding just the right creative partner to bring Willy Wonka, Charlie, and the Oompa Loompas to life in animation was a daunting task. Until Taika walked into the room, then it really was obvious. If Dahl had created a character of a filmmaker to adapt his work, I'm pretty sure he would have created Taika. Waititi has become one of the most in-demand filmmakers in Hollywood these days, to his blend of quirk, humor, and style that is able to slide between genres and scale. His Jojo Rabbit film was a humane and sly take on the war and hate that had a sentimental heart beating in the center. And of course, Thor Ragnarok reinvigorated a slumping superhero franchise. But how he manages his own upcoming project and satisfies all of his patrons will be the next challenge. On top of the 2 Dahl products, Waititi is in post-production on Searchlight Soccer's comedy The Next Goal Wins while prepping Marvel's Thor Love and Thunder, which he is writing and directing. There is also some Star Wars in his future, as he's in talks with Lucasfilm to develop a movie and could work on more of The Mandalorian. But let's not also forget, too, that in terms with his writing partner, Jermaine Clement, he has also been working on the FX series, What We Do in the Shadows, based on the acclaimed film that he did with Jermaine, who is also well known because of Flight of the Conchords. You can also check out What We Do in the Shadows, the first season, on Hulu right now, and the second season of that will be out in April. In other TV news, for fans of the Canadian sketch comedy series The Kids in the Hall, well, guess what? Amazon is bringing it back. The Chicken Lady and the Head Crusher are coming back. Amazon Prime Video is set to bring back new episodes of the critically acclaimed cult sketch series from Canada, The Kids in the Hall. This marks the first Canadian Amazon original series. The original kids, Dave Foley, Kevin McDonald, Bruce McCulloch, Mark McKinney, and Scott Thompson, are all set to return for 8 episodes, and they will reprise fan-favorite characters from the series, which originally ran from 1989 to 1995 on CBC in Canada and stateside in CBS, HBO, and Comedy Central. The series will be executive produced by Saturday Night Live creator Lorne Michaels. Even after 30 years, The Kids in the Hall has retained its brilliance and originality, said Michaels. We are happy to be bringing back all of the original kids for the new series. We've been investing in Canada for several years and are excited to add that momentum by making The Kids in the Hall the first Canadian Amazon original series, said James Farrell, Vice President of International Originals for Amazon Studios. The Kids in the Hall is an iconic show with a deep-rooted fan base. Several of our global hits, including The Boys, Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, and The Expanse, have been filmed in Canada, and we're looking forward to continuing our work with talented producers and crew teams across the country to bring this series to our Prime members around the world. We had a chance to talk with Dave Foley and Scott Thompson, Kevin McDonald, a couple of years ago, is when they were here in Dallas, where we are located, and accepted the Ernie Kovac Awards for comedy at DFW Video Fest. Very gracious, fun to talk to, and we, celebrated a lot of Kids in the Hall. You can go and check out that interview on our YouTube channel under our interview section to see how everything came together and why we believe this is such an iconic comedy show. One of our favorites. That's what's going on in the world of TV and streaming news today. We only have one piece of news in the world of gaming. So for fans of The Outer Worlds, which we are here at That Nerd Show, was one of our favorite games last year, there's been some patches and many little updates, especially as they get ready to release on the Switch. The Outer Worlds is fixing its tiny text problem with a solution that every game should steal. So here's what's going on. The Outer Worlds has had a text size problem ever since it came out in October, and this week it's finally getting a solution. Obsidian's Nate McDormand took to his personal Twitter account to share images of the blessed UI fix, which he says should come to all versions of the game within a week. Right now, The Outer Worlds is on Xbox Game Pass, so you should be able to log back in and do that update within a week to see these fixes. But anyway, the game has been suffering from tiny text ever since the beginning of the HD area, and while it's a headache for anybody who doesn't play their games on a PC monitor a few feet from their face, it can also be a big barrier to accessibility for any number of reasons, especially if you have those big 70-inch gaming TVs like we do at That Nerd Show. Some games include a few toggles to shift the overall size of the user interface, but McDormand did one better. He put an actual honest-to-God text size slider. Once the update goes live, it will be easy to scale up or down the Outer Worlds text size as to make your term paper look like it meets the page length requirement. McDormand also shared a few GIFs that you can catch on his Twitter account that show the difference the setting can make in the Outer Worlds menus and in dialogue scenes. You may be wondering why on earth it took 3 months to put a text size slider in a modern video game. The short answer is game development. The longer answer is that making the slider itself was easy, but making sure everything else in the user interface worked with the changes instead of breaking the game horribly was hard. Whether or not you're excited for enlarging your font, the same update for the Outer Worlds will also add support for tracking multiple quests on the map at once and ultra-wide monitor support for loading screens and cinematics, among other changes. If you left off your journey through Helicron partway or are itching to chart another course through the system, that should make for a very good time. And it's always good to be able to go back into that game, especially since it is free on Xbox Game Pass. That's what's happening in the world of TV, film, and gaming today. There's not a whole lot. As we get more news about how events are being pushed back or who's doing what because of the coronavirus outbreak, we will bring you that news on a daily basis. And now to our question of the day. Sunday marked the season finale of season 12 of Doctor Who, the second season with Jodie Whittaker at the helm of Doctor Who. And the last two seasons have brought in mixed reviews. That's about the best way that we can say it. Some people really hate Doctor Who right now and feel no attachment to it. They don't really like Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. Some fans really love it. But I think where the mixed reviews really come in is the showrunner. So our question of the day is simple. Is it time for a new Doctor Who showrunner? Or is it time to find a new Doctor Who showrunner? I don't really know how to answer this question. Chris Chibnall is, I don't want to say that he's a bad writer. He did great with the series Broadchurch, which he adapted in Britain and also helped, bring one season to the U.S. And that's also where he worked with Jodie Whittaker the first time. But I think we can all admit that some of the storylines have been a little lackluster. Not all the episodes have been great, and that some of the better episodes were written by the staff and not him. And here's a little bit of a spoiler alert. We had kind of an interesting plot point for the season finale, which added to the mythology of the Doctor. For the longest time, we've heard the tale of the timeless child, and we've been wondering who it is. Well, they basically dropped it in the season finale that it's actually the Doctor. He, she, they are the timeless child. And added much more of a backstory to how the Doctor came about in regeneration and a little bit more mythology to Gallifrey. Some people liked the season finale, but of course the plot kind of retconned a few things and added some continuity problems with Matt Smith as the Doctor. So after 12 seasons, and since Doctor Who came back 15 years ago, I think it's also fair to ask the question if it's time to quit doing Doctor Who. Even the original classic series ran out of steam after a long time, and there wasn't as many, viewers, and that's why they quit after 26 years. It took basically a 16-year hiatus, except for a made-for-TV movie which actually contained the 8th Doctor here in America, where they were trying to reboot Doctor Who for American audiences, and it just didn't really work. But getting back to Chris Chibnall as the showrunner, is he that terrible of a writer, or does he, and personally I don't think he is, but I think the bigger question is, does he actually understand Doctor Who? Or is he like most writers where you try to add your own spin to something and try to create something of your own and be different than the other writers? Well, that's a catch-22. Every artist has to have their own flair, has to bring something unique to the table. But you also have to understand the building blocks of a long-time show that you're working on. What makes it tick? It's the same with writers that create a new series for Star Trek. If you don't understand the lore and the mythology already set up within the universe, then whatever your unique idea can basically alienate and retcon everything about Star Trek that we know. People complained about that when Star Trek Discovery came out a couple of years ago. Well, Doctor Who is no different. There's nothing wrong with the Doctor finally becoming a woman. It's been comical, and I think Jodie Whittaker has been great at it. But everybody has their favorite Doctor, and then they have their least favorite Doctor. And it's the same thing with the companions. Either you really like the companions or you don't like the companions. But at the heart of any franchise, when it comes down to it not being as good, it usually isn't the performance of someone like with this series who's playing the Doctor. It usually comes down to the writing itself. And that was also kind of, a lot of the complaints with Stephen Moffat, that it was time for him to go, and it was starting to become stale. And, the last season with Peter Capaldi just really was not that good. So therefore it was time to regenerate and bring in a new Doctor. But the episodes that we have seen over the last 2 seasons have been some of the lowest rated episodes of Doctor Who, especially since they did reboot it in 2005. Is it running out of steam, or is it the showrunner? Personally, I don't dislike Chris Chibnall as the writer. I think overall they have done some good things, and I personally don't have a problem with the season finale. even though it's changing things up a little bit and or changing the mythology a little bit, or adding a lot that we just didn't know about the Doctor. Nothing wrong with that. But is it classic Doctor Who? Is it getting back to the root of what made us fall in love with Doctor Who, for those that watched the classic series, or those that got into it when they rebooted it and, fell in love with this great show? Or is it just become too stale and it doesn't matter who the showrunner is? We're kind of worn out by it. It happens. There's fatigue that happens in every show where it's just time to go. And usually every great show that we fell in love with, the last season or two are the weakest and it was time to go. We complained about that with Arrow, that they should have really ended that series about 3 years ago with their original plan. But getting back to Doctor Who, it usually starts with the showrunner. So if things aren't working in the series, if it comes down to the writing itself, isn't it the showrunner that has to go? Isn't it, don't you bring in new blood? But if you do you still keep Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor since they came in together? Or do they all go? Or is it time to kind of start over and regenerate the Doctor yet again? No word has been said on whether they would consider doing that, but we do have a New Year's Eve special or a holiday special coming up later this year. Will that be the time that we finally see the end of Jodie Whittaker's run as the Doctor, especially since they left us on a cliffhanger? But we'd like to hear from the Doctor Who fans out there. I know again, it's very mixed reviews, very passionate fans on either side of the aisle. But we're only talking about the showrunner. Is it time to find a new Doctor Who showrunner? Is it time for Chris Chibnall to finally go? Or do you keep him for one more season at least? We'd like to hear from you. You can tweet us out on our Twitter account @ThatNerdShow. Tell us your answers on whether Doctor Who should get a new showrunner or not. I'm Marcus Blake with That Nerd Show, and this has been your daily nerd news for Thursday, March 5th, 2020. Until the next time, goodbye. Hello there, fellow nerds. I'm Marcus Blake, the editor and producer of That Nerd Show, and we need your help. That's right, we need your support. Like any news outlet, we rely on advertising and donations to keep the lights on. To be the greatest show in this universe, we need funding, and that's where you come in. Like most artists out there, we actually have a Patreon account, and we're asking for donations. But we're not just asking for you to give us money. We actually have stuff that we're going to be giving away if you donate. So we'll be uploading more and more videos to our Patreon account from YouTube, from our daily news to interviews with celebrities to gaming videos and all of our other individual shows that we are doing here in 2020. But to keep us going, we need a little bit of funding. And again, that's where you come in. So it can be as little as $1. $1 makes all the difference in the world. And you can do anywhere from $1 to $3 to $5, all the way up to $500. And we're going to be giving stuff away for your donations. So you could get some Nerd Power wristbands or any other wristbands from our series of wristbands that we're creating for nerds. You can get cool retro gaming t-shirts from our Nerd Swag shop if you make a donation of $20 or more. You can even get advertising on our website or within our videos if you make a purchase or donate $50 or more dollars. We have different tiers, like most artists. Want that new video game that's coming out this year? You want to be playing the same video game we are as we're reviewing it? Hey, you can do that with a $100 donation. Are you looking to get a new console before the year is out? Hey, $500 and you can get an Xbox One, a PlayStation 4, or even a Nintendo Switch. It just takes a little bit to help us. As little as $1 per video that we do. And we're going to have a variety of videos that you can help support. So if you like our content, if you like everything that we do as nerds, from honest conversations about pop culture to great celebrity interviews to wacky and fun gaming videos, then help support us on our Patreon account. You can check us out at patreon.com/thatnerdshow. You can check us out at patreon.com/that. Take 3. Go to patreon.com/thatnerdshow and make your donation today. Even if it's just $1, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you and stay nerdy.